Hey all, welcome back to the Last Rather's Business Interruption webinar series. So we're going to dig in a little bit more of that market loss issue. And with the hurricane season is upon us, we now have Tropical Storm Faye, which is going up to the Northeast. My home state of New Jersey is getting a lot of flooding. Kind of reminds me of the last Tropical Storm Faye, which we had down here in Florida, where it sat on top of us for about 3 days and dumped a lot of rain. So those wide area damages from flooding and from high winds from hurricanes is a common issue, and that presents itself one of the policy provisions that we typically see in business interruption laws is this idea of market loss. So are insured businesses financial damages primarily driven from the physical damage to the insured premises, or are they part of a wider area economic damages? And that's what we're trying to do with a lot of even these COVID cases, where we're trying to determine what the real cause of the financial losses may be. Are they related to what's being insured within the four corners of the policy? Or are they an external factor that need to be considered and need to be adjusted for when you're trying to make a measurement of a business interruption loss? That's what we're really trying to do. And I think one of the things that, a good way to illustrate this is one of the jobs that I worked on after Hurricane Katrina pertained to a sales office that was one of the primary sources of sales for timeshares in New Orleans. And you can really see this as an example because the claim was for the sales losses, and were those sales losses primarily driven by the physical damage to the sales office, or were they to the fact that the greater population may not have necessarily been coming into New Orleans to buy timeshares after Hurricane Katrina with all the wide area damage, right? So there's a lot of external information that needs to be gleaned that we need to consider in making the determination and a measurement for what a business interruption is. And that's what we're really trying to do, even with all these COVID claims, is just trying to understand and look at the causes. Now, who has the ultimate responsibility to make that determination? That's more for an attorney to try and decide. That's not really my area of expertise. All we're really trying to do is inform the process, and we do that by looking at a lot of the data just to try and understand. All right, we have a business that may have, we know how it historically operates under normal conditions. Now you have an event, say it's COVID or say it's a hurricane. How does that really impact the financial losses? Are there some external factors that would not necessarily be considered under the four corners of the policy, or is it would it actually be driven by the actual insured, and what was particularly included within the premium and those sorts of things. So one of the things that we're seeing is, regardless of all the different coverage questions that are being litigated in all these various courts. There was another case in Michigan responding to whether a business has physical damage or not. And as some of these states try and decide whether the virus can legitimately trigger some of the coverage, the question for accountants would really be primarily, when you're doing this measurement, to the extent there are financial damages, how can we inform the process to show what the causes of the loss would be? Are they the physical damage? Are they something else that's not considered as under the policy? And that's what we're really trying to do. So to the extent that there are everyone has a policy, and we see some of these exclusions, a lot of these policies may be clear, but there are a lot that do have ambiguities. And so again, as the courts try and decide how these ambiguities are interpreted, Are they interpreted broadly? Are they interpreted more strictly? Whose benefit do they come into? You know, is it to the benefit of the insured? Is it to the benefit of the insurance carrier? You know, those are all things that are being litigated, and then we'll see how they turn, you know, where the chips fall at the end of the day. But, you know, what we're really trying to do is, again, we're just trying to look at the data and inform the process, make a determination of what the business financial damages would be, and then trying to then dig in, look at the data and see how, you know, what's the primary driver of some of those things. So, you know, if that gives you a little bit better flavor for what the actual, you know, what the role of a claim examiner or claims preparer would be, I hope that really helps. Again, next week we'll talk a little bit more with Dr. Claudia Martinez about how some of the technical aspects about how you go about doing that. But until that next time, stay safe from Tropical Storm Faye, and wear your mask. And thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week for another edition of Glass Riders Business Interruption webinar series. Bye.